Have you got a pronoun that you...
My pronoun is... Off, don't be silly, you cunt. Listen to Charles Darwin. About to go on, the director came in. Yeah, Jack Nicholson's in. Don't tell us that before we go on.
And you're going about you did martial arts, knife attacks and all that, and then the guy just stabs you and you're like, oh, he stabbed me.
I did a film called Sid and Nancy, where I played the drummer of the Sex Pistols with Gary Oldman. It was supposed to be a short, and he shot so much in 3 weeks that he turned it into a long and paid me for doing a short. That's a move. Beef with Warwick Davis, because I was taller than him, and it was my turn to go and nick the tin of biscuits. I'm fucking struggling to get up this fire escape, and this geezer caught me, and the set had burnt down. The story goes that they never had enough money to finish the film. Stanley and his brother had a little bonfire. Russell Crowe and his mum had a wrestling match in front of us.
Didn't you play Roland?
He's a isn't he? So if they thought they was going to get me in front of a camera, they had another fucking thing coming.
Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast, and this episode is proudly brought to you by Betovo. Before we get stuck into this week's episode, we're going to give a big shout out to our sponsors.
This season's podcast is brought to you by Superstar Speakers Events. They are the UK's #1 destination for exclusive live experiences. These guys don't just put on events, they deliver unforgettable nights with some of the biggest names in sports, entertainment and beyond. From jaw-dropping Q&A sessions to meet and greets and unmissable stage interviews, they bring you face-to-face with the icons you love. Whether it's football legends spilling the secrets of the beautiful game or entertainment stars sharing untold stories, Superstar Speakers knows how to create memories that last a lifetime. And here's the big news. I'll be teaming up with them for an evening with Terry Stone, a live tour you won't want to miss. Head over to superstarspeakers.co.uk for dates, details and tickets. Massive thanks to Superstar Speakers for supporting our podcast. Please go check out their up-and-coming events now and book yourself a night to remember. Click on the link below and get involved. Welcome back to the Criminal Connection podcast, and today we've got a legend from film, from television, from screen. He was with the daddy in Scum. He got stabbed in Love, Honour and Obey, and he's played a horrible man in The Last Heist. He is Mr. Perry Benson.
Hello. How you doing? All right. I'm not. I only pretend to be horrible.
No,
Only when Terry makes me.
So Perry, just before we get started,
yes,
I'd like to know how you'd like to be addressed. Have you got a pronoun that you'd like me
my
to use?
pronoun is off, don't be silly, you cunt. Listen to Charles Darwin, you know. Like fucking pronoun.
Okay, I'll call you Perry then, or Pezza.
Yeah.
So
Perry. Pez is like a bit kind of.
Pezza.
Pez is a bit like Zigga Zagga, isn't it?
Sounds like
Remember
a Spice Girls song.
Zigga Zagga. Oi. Go on, tell anyway. Like I interrupted you. Yeah.
No, Perry. I'm honoured that you've joined me.
Yeah, it weren't too far away. You know,
we're having a sit down
from the station that you told me.
You're having a sit down with a podfather. Yeah. We're talking about the Criminal Connection.
Podfather. Peas in a podfather.
That is me. That is me. But do you know something, Perry? Before we even met, I was watching you in Scum. I watched you in Love, Honour and Obey, Funnel Cut. There was so many great British films. Grange.
I weren't in Grange that much. I was in one episode of it. I sent.
Didn't you play Roland?
He's a cunt, isn't he? Like,
I'm joking. I'm pulling your leg.
No, I sent Benny Green to the girls' changing rooms instead of the boys' changing rooms. I was a horrible fifth former.
Do you know something? If you'd done
in
it
the
now,
first ever. You know, if I'd done it now, it'd probably be the right thing to do, wouldn't it?
I don't know. You might get cancelled.
No. You know, he had quite long hair at the time,
right,
so, you know, I had a bit of a fro.
Yeah. But
my poor old mate Terry, by the way, you know, God rest his soul, you know.
Is
Tel.
Is he gone?
Yeah, he's gone, yeah.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. But honestly, Perry, I've seen you on screen. It feels like it's got to be 4 decades. Is it longer?
Yeah, probably.
Wow. So if we rewind, right to the start,
Yeah.
have you always been a Londoner?
Yeah.
And what was the calling for acting? Was it something you did at school? Or?
No, I was with my mates. We used to go and hang about, like, you know, delinquents in this park in Islington.
Yeah.
And we knew that they had this kind of, once a month in the summer holidays, they'd go, or not once a month, once every couple of weeks, they'd have this kind of show below the library where they'd put out a family-sized tin of biscuits.
Yeah.
And it was my turn to go and nick the tin of biscuits and run away. So I went down the stairs, and the tin of biscuits was just nearly as big as I was. Right, so I'm fucking struggling to get up this fire escape, and this geezer caught me. And it was Anna Scher's husband, Charles Verrill, another two that have just gone, unfortunately. But we're all in the queue, aren't we? And he said, "Come join." I said, "Please, mister, don't. My family are very poor." All my mates are going, "No, take the notice of him. He's lying." Like, so anyway, he dragged me into this kind of. I thought he was a child molester or something. Then he gave me a biscuit, and I knew he was. No. Yeah. So I went in there, and there's people like Linda Robson, Pauline Quirk, and Nuala Conwell, and like all doing this act. I thought, God, this is full of girls. You know, and he gave me biscuits and a cup of tea.
You was in, weren't you? You was in at that moment.
And they used to have it in this kind of council sort of run hall in the middle of some flats off of Essex Road in Islington.
Right.
And so I used to go down there, and you know, it was 10p a lesson if you could afford it. If you couldn't, they used to swallow it.
Wow. I mean, what a great school that was, though. That was a breeding ground.
Well, it was in between. It was like after school, you know. It was like an after-school club.
Yeah, I mean, more for the acting. I mean, what a great school for actors.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a great opportunity. But we didn't really know it at the time, you know. It was like we were doing these improvisational workshop things with her. And she'd get people in like from theatre groups or the BBC or wherever, or doing films, and they'd tell her what they wanted, and she'd direct the lesson in that direction.
Yeah.
So they could see, you know, who could do it, and out of that I started getting work.
Wow. When
I was 10.
I mean, that is an amazing way. I mean, it's a shame there's nothing like that now, because a lot of people...
Well, there is a theatre there that's more formalised now, because she lost the theatre, unfortunately, because she entrusted a board that weren't trustworthy.
Right.
Anna Scher. And there's another place that she has called the Anna Scher Theatre that has been the beacon's been carried on by someone called Dickon Tolson.
Right,
and
okay.
that's at the back of a Catholic church near Chapel Street Market in Islington.
Wow.
So and they have that. They have these workshops that are in the spirit of her teachings, which was 1,001 Ideas for Drama was one of her books, and she's published a few books that are really worth looking at if you're thinking of getting into acting.
Yeah,
you know,
amazing.
And so I did that. I went to a normal school. I went to a boys' grammar school, and in my 6 weeks holiday and in other holidays, I used to work.
Yeah.
And I had a tutor, like that was the legal requirements, but I was way ahead of anything that they could ever teach me, you know.
Yeah.
I was quite bad, actually.
I always thought you were such a good boy as well, Perry.
I was naughty. I once done this Children's Film Foundation film, and it was called What Next, I think it was called. And Battersea Park used to have a permanent fun fair, and we had the whole fun fair for a week. So if they thought they was going to get me in front of a camera, they had another fucking thing coming. You know, I was off, like, you know, doing whatever I could do. You know, go, we've got to get on here, mister, because, you know, we've got to rehearse. So I'd make them all give me a ride, like, for nothing. And they was all working. Yeah, that was good fun.
And what would you say? I mean, I mean, one of my favourite TV shows growing up was Minder.
Minder, I did one episode of Minder with Gary Webster when Gary Webster was in it. But I was sort of like working in the car lot, I think.
Yeah.
And George Cole, I had a scene with George Cole.
Yeah, he's great, George.
Yeah, it was great. You know, so he's really quick. You know, blink and it was gone. Yeah.
And as you were going through, you know, as a job and actor, like you said, you were doing a bit of theatre. You did some episodes of TV, a bit of Grange, bit of.
Well, I actually started in the theatre. The first job I ever got was for a touring company in London that used to tour in the summer holidays around London parks, called the London Bubble Theatre, and they'd put this sort of geodesic dome thing up, and like there was the main one was a big one, and they had like little ones for the dressing rooms and another one for sort of like canteen and bar and stuff. And I did Waiting for Godot, which
play.
is Samuel Beckett plays, like, you know, great play. And I played the boy in that. And I remember my dad coming, and we'd worked it all out, all the, you know, like the fighting, and they threw me about quite a lot, which I liked. I quite enjoyed it. It was like, you know, it was like play fighting. And he went, here, boy. He goes, a bit spiteful. I want to have a word with him. I said, no, Dad, no, we've worked it out. No, I'm going to have a... Dad, please don't. Like, and he wanted to go and give him a right-hander.
That is acting.
I know, yeah. Well, it's obviously convincing, so, you know.
Yeah.
That was good. And then I've done a couple of plays at the Royal Court. I've done a play called Class Enemy with Phil Daniels and amongst others. And before that, I've done the Good Person of Szechuan, which is the PC way of saying it now. It was the Good Woman of Szechuan. It's now the Good Person of Szechuan.
Okay. A good person,
which is Bertolt Brecht.
Yeah.
So, you know, quite classical German stuff. Alice Clark? Yes. Oder. And, but the Class Enemy, we started in the theatre upstairs in there, and it was so popular that we transferred into the main theatre. And we all used to share a dressing room, and it was like it's like all chaps that had mostly been at Anna Scher's.
Wow.
And
it's just like being it's like a family day out.
It was a weird play, because this guy that had written it, Nigel Williams, good playwright, wrote it all in phonetically. So instead of in it said in ver, ver. So we had to sort of translate it back. It's you know, which it's hard enough learning a bloody play, and it was like written in a fucking foreign language, right? These lower middle class people, I don't know, you know. Anyway, it was a great success, and one night we was about to go on, and the director came in. Bill Alexander, his name was. He ran Birmingham Rep after that. He said to us, Jack Nicholson's in. So, fuck off, Bill, don't tell us that before we go on.
No pressure.
You know. Anyway, we go on. We're upstairs afterwards having half a lager in the dressing room with all these young American female students that we were getting on like house on fire with, you know what I mean? And then he came in, the director said, right, everyone out. I said, Bill, what are you doing? You're chucking these girls out. And all I could hear is all these girls saying, it's Jack Nicholson. And so he came in. He loved the play.
Amazing.
And it was at the time he was doing The Shining. That's how long ago that was. So it was
it's Johnny!
Yeah. It was 1979 probably. And just right at the height of punk in the King's Road. So we were interacting with all of that as well.
Yeah.
Going out graffitiing. Me and my mate was in it. Michael Deeks in 9-foot letters on these big white walls in Chelsea, Class Enemy, which was the name of the play. And we was getting write-ups in The Guardian saying, this is a cult play. And it weren't, it was us with a couple of spray cans, you know.
That was before social media. That was how you got the attention.
Yeah, we got told off for doing that, but hey ho.
Needs must.
Yeah.
But what was Jack Nicholson like? I mean, he must have been...
No, he's great. He invited us down to visit the set when he was doing The Shining, and none of the others did. And I did after a little while, and got there down at Elstree, and the set had burnt down. So it was a bit of a disappointment,
I thought you were going to say that Jack was standing going, and he had like a match in his hand.
I think that the story goes that they never had enough money to finish the film, so Stanley and his brother, who was the accountant, might have had a little bonfire.
That's a great story. They're not around anymore, so if it's true, it doesn't matter,
does it? Yeah. That's only that was a rumor.
Was that Stanley Kubrick who directed that?
Yeah.
Wow. Because I when you said Stanley, I thought it had to be him. Yeah. But that was a great movie. I mean, that was probably the movie that made Jack Nicholson. I mean, when you talk about Jack Nicholson movies, people that know him from recent will go with The Departed, the this, the that. But I think the old school will always go to Shining. That was his movie.
Yeah, and Dr. Strangelove, and like Barry Lyndon and The Duelists, amazing films he directed. I worked a little bit later on.
Few Good Men. That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. I worked a little bit. I don't know if he directed that, did he?
No, I think he was in it.
Oh yeah, I thought you were still talking about Stanley Kubrick.
No, I'm talking about Jack. I mean, everyone knew him as The
Last Detail is the one that I first saw him in. Yeah. But, and Chinatown, of course.
Chinatown was good.
But I was working on this film that was it was kind of a kids' film. Enid Blyton, Island of Adventure in Cornwall, and there was this art director on it, and he's having a laugh. It was nice, staying in Penzance. Was there for about sort of like 8 weeks in the summer.
So it's that little model village down there.
No, that isn't that in Devon.
Do you know what? I just remember it being down there somewhere. But
yeah,
everyone seemed if
near
you went
Torquay,
anywhere,
you're thinking
you went anywhere down there, everyone went to that model village.
Yeah,
like...
this was anyway. The art director on it, I said, she's a bit miserable, and she's got face like a slapped ass. And one of the fellas on it, he said, yeah, it's Stanley Kubrick's daughter. I said, oh. So yeah, it's a bit of a come down, isn't it, doing a Enid Blyton film then? But actually, some people just look like that and they're not like that at all. And she was great. We got on like house on fire. I told her that story.
Yeah.
She loved it.
And then as you're going through your career, would you say was Scum the first film you did?
No, because I did the Children's Film Foundation films before that.
Yeah.
And I was in things like Dixon and Doc Green when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
that was a TV show though, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Poldark.
Right, Poldark. Right, wow. That was the previous one, wasn't it?
I had a talking role in Poldark. It was a Christmas episode, and we were carol singers, and we go into Ross and Demeltzer's house. And
was you singing?
Singing carols, yeah.
Wow. Love to see that, Pez.
And anyway, I go in, and then we were about to leave, and they said, would you like some more mince pies? And I had to say in a Cornish accent, no thank you, ma'am. We best be going now. So that was a talking role.
Can you actually sing, Perry?
Yeah, I've done musical theatre, yeah.
Wow. See, I'd never thought that. I'd love to hear one of your songs.
Play stringed instruments and sing, yeah.
So what was the Christmas carol you sung in Poldark? What was that?
I can't remember.
In
the bleak midwinter.
Can you sing anything?
What now?
Yeah, just to hear you.
I've got this song that I wrote it's like a few years ago I knew like Kate Moss, and this was her favourite song. She used to try and get me to sing it wherever I went.
Right.
It's called Mad Mum. It goes like this. Mad Mum. Mad Mum. Mad Mum. Mad Mum. With a broken nose and her stuck-on teeth and her broken feet. And she did it herself. Mad Mum. Well, that's a bit of it.
I love it. What you need is a beatbox. You need someone going...
No, I've got all that. It's recorded, so...
Oh, wow. Yeah. When are you going to release it?
Oh,
Are you just keeping that in your back pocket?
Like Engelbert Humperdinck, isn't it? Please release me. I do like a bit of karaoke. You like karaoke, Tal?
Do you know what? I always struggle with karaoke because I can't sing. If I actually sing...
If anyone's in Weymouth, right, the Railway Tavern on a Friday night, oh my God.
Is that the gaff?
It's the gaff, yeah.
Because I can't sing, and if I have a drink...
Well, that don't matter if you can't sing. That's not what...
No, but
I can sing.
If you was in a karaoke bar, though, and you heard somebody singing, it sounded like somebody's cat being strangled, you put your earplugs in.
Yeah, of course.
That's me. Right?
Has anyone got a newspaper?
But with Scum, right? Because Scum was, I think, the film that sort of made Ray Winstone, right? So who was the daddy? You're Ray.
Who me?
Who was the daddy? Did you go up to him with the balls in the thing and go, I'm a fucking daddy? Or
That was Peter, wasn't it, that hit him at the snooker? Or was it? No, that was Ray Burdis, I think.
I think it was Ray did it, didn't he? He was the one who actually hit him with the... Because he played Carlin, didn't he? And
I can't remember. It's not a film that I watch regularly because it's not...
Do you know what?
It's a moving film, don't get me wrong, but it's not entertaining,
When I got into movies, that was one of the... Scum and Nil by Mouth were two of my favourite... And I'm talking about early Ray Winstone films, you know. You weren't in Nil by Mouth, were you?
No.
Right, okay.
I was supposed to be in that because I'd worked with Gary Oldman, but then it didn't work out. Yeah, I did a film called Sid and Nancy with him.
Yeah.
Where I played the drummer of the Sex Pistols with Gary Oldman. Yeah. But, things don't work out sometimes. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
I've been looking at that Slow Horses. You seen that?
Yeah, that's good.
It's really good. And I did do a self-tape for it last year, but that didn't work out either. But, I really like that. I binge-watched that, the third series the other day.
Yeah, I think...
Recommendation.
I mean, talking about the actual business, right? It is tough being an actor because you do a lot of these self-tapes, auditions, and sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But, what's your advice, Perry? Because obviously you've been in the game a long time. So to any up-and-coming actors or any actors that are feeling a bit low or depressed or,
become a milkman.
Do you know something? That is great advice, Perry. I wish I'd have met you 20 years ago.
Free yogurt.
Can be like Ernie, the fastest milk float in the West.
My mate, he owned Agent Provocateur, the underwear company.
Yeah.
He said, Pell, would you model? I said, what, in underwear? He said, no, with 30 double D models.
Yeah.
And they dressed me up as Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West. I've done it, yeah.
Please,
Joe Corey.
If people are watching or listening to this thinking, who the is Ernie, right? Google Ernie, the fastest milk float in the West, and you will see who Bernie is.
Yeah. Ernie.
Ernie. Sorry, it's Benny Hill in it, but
yeah. Ernie, yeah. And they made me this like 50s milk, and he gave me like this crate of milk, and this at the end of the show, this girl nicked one of my bottles of milk and poured it all down her breasts.
I hope you went up to so that's 30p.
No, and Joe Corey, who's Vivienne Westwood's son, that owned it with his missus, he said, what I want you to do is lick all the milk off of her tits. I said, no, that's not what I do. Not in public, anyway.
What a weird thing to say.
No, no. He just wanted a porn film, basically.
Right. I suppose if they'd have made Ernie the Milk musical or Ernie the Milk film, you'd have been in a run.
Would have been me, yeah.
Would have been running.
Watch out. There's a Humphrey about.
When you said Agent Provocateur, I thought that you meant they wanted you to dress up in all the gear. That's what, when you said that, I was thinking, where's this going? Where's this going?
I wouldn't have minded that, I suppose. Yeah.
I think you look quite fetching in a pair of stockings and
double XL.
Yeah, and I think you look you look a bit Alpha Salt, Perry. Alpha Salt.
Rubbery. Oh, thank you very much.
I mean, looking at your career, and obviously you've done a lot. What would you say was one of your early defining movie roles in the crime genre? Because obviously, it's a Criminal Connection podcast, and obviously people will recognise you from.
I'm not really sure. I don't know. I mean,
to how I discovered you as an actor, even though you was on Minder and you was on Grange and you'd done all these other bits, I first become aware of you when I watched Final Cut and when I watched Love on the Bay.
okay, yeah.
And those two movies, for anyone who hasn't seen them, were arguably Ray Burdis' greatest work. And I think, it made a lot
well,
of stars.
Dominic Anciano was the guy that directed it. Ray was in it, and
I thought didn't Ray write it?
they co-wrote it.
Because I thought Ray was involved in the production side, the writing side.
He's a producer, and he produced it, and
why did I think he directed it?
no, Dominic Anciano directed both of those films.
But those two movies for me at that period of time created a generation of stars. Obviously Ray Winstone was already a star, but he was great in it. It had this ex-SAS guy,
Will Scully,
yeah, you was in it. Sadie Frost, Jude Law. I mean, all these characters.
Well, Jude Law and Johnny Lee Miller had already kind of arrived, really.
Because that
They'd done
final
other
cut,
stuff
that
before
final
that.
cut was, it had so many. I mean, I just remember watching it.
Well,
and going,
we shot that in I think 2.5 weeks. Very quickly, in someone's flat in Paddington.
Yeah.
Mostly. And, sometimes the best things are done quickest. It's like I worked with Shane Meadows a few times as well.
He's a great director.
This Is England with him, and another film called Somerstown that was supposed to be a short, and he shot so much in 3 weeks that he turned it into a long and paid me for doing a short. That's a move.
I'm doing a short film next week, Perry.
Oh, yeah? So I've got some platform shoes. I can't do it now.
7 week shoot. One of the funniest scenes for me in Love, Honour and a Bay is when you're in that pub and you're going about, you do martial arts.
Oh, yeah.
And you can block knife attacks and all that. And then the guy just stabs you and you're like, oh, he stabbed me. Yeah. I mean, that is probably one of the funniest. Was that like an impro or was that written? Because that was fucking hilarious.
It was impro, and we knew these other. When I was a kid, I knew these very dangerous people that I think I was in a pub when that happened with someone. Like someone had a knife and we was going, no, leave it out, don't. Put the knife away. And this geezer that was with him was laughing at us, going, you wankers, like that. And the geezer with a knife turned around and stabbed him. Went,
I hope he didn't die.
Anyway, I'm going. No, he didn't die, no. Done it in L shape there, it's safe, apparently.
Right.
Not that I know things like that, but,
Yeah, but that was funny. What other memories have you got of Love, Honour and a Bay? Because that was a really famous movie at the time, wasn't it? Because you must have got recognised when you're walking around. There's a bloke who got stabbed. There's a martial arts expert.
No, yeah, a lot of kids, which is a little bit chilling. Like, knife crime is not good. Please do not carry a knife.
Yeah,
because you never know. Right, it's funny in that, but that's all,
That was 2000, wasn't it? It was a long time ago, wasn't it? Was it earlier?
90s, it was.
90s, wow.
And it chills me to the bone sometimes that it could have, contributed to the increase in knife crime, because it's not a good thing, Don't matter where you stab someone, you don't know where you're stabbing them.
Yeah.
You could go right into an artery, bang, and they're gone,
Absolutely.
So good. If you're going to have a row with your fists.
Problem is now, people don't want to do that anymore, do they?
No, because they're cowardly.
It's still a good scene. Yeah. And I don't think anybody would have watched that and gone, I don't think that would have inspired them to do that to it.
Well, I hope not, but, the amount of people that have shouted out in the streets of me, stab me, you sigh. It's like, oh, yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, thank you.
It's only a movie. It's not real life.
Which is, it's funny, but it makes me swerve.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop and talk to them.
Just in case.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say you get mostly recognised for? What's been the thing that's brought you the most heat?
A lot of the time, Benidorm, because I was in that for 2 series.
That's it's one of them shows that everyone watches,
it still is. It's on Netflix all the time. It's on constantly. So there's this constant thing of them pumping it out. And They haven't made it for about 5 years, I don't think. you know?
Really?
No. ITV cancelled it, you know.
I wonder why, because that was one of their flagship
Well,
shows.
I think they were running out of ideas. They got rid of Our Family because Hannah Waddingham has now gone on to greater heights. She was in Ted Lasso and, loads of other things. And, the other family, the Garveys, the boy was doing his own A-level, so they had to leave. That broke that family up.
Yeah.
And they tried to replace it, and it it's funny, but it never quite worked. It weren't the same, Who
would you say out of, like you spoke about Jack Nicholson and Ray Winstone, but who else have you worked with that like superstars?
I want to say a huge thanks to our sponsors, Fragrance du Bois. Now, for those of you that don't know about Fragrance du Bois, where have you been? It is one of the leading luxury fragrances, only available in Harrods, Selfridges and Neiman Marcus in New York. They've got so many different fragrances for men, for women. All of the fragrances are unisex, so make sure you get involved and sample the delights of Fragrance du Bois. For all the Criminal Connection podcast crew, we've got a special discount for you. 10% off. All you need to do when you click on the link below and choose your luxury fragrance is to put in CCPOD10 for the 10% discount.
Joan Collins.
She's good fun, isn't she?
Yeah, she's good,
Dame
yeah.
Joan.
No, she's great. I mean, she's got to be 90 nearly, isn't she? And she's still going.
Do you know something?
I see her on Louis Theroux the other day, and she put him... He's good, but she put him in his place, which is, she's good.
It's actually, so I've got a Joan Collins story to share with you, which is really funny.
Yeah, I worked with her twice. I worked with her... I did the sequel to Little Orphan Annie, imaginatively titled Annie 2.
That's good, isn't it?
And I was playing her henchman in it, Mean Murphy Knuckles. And me and
I love that.
Crispin Bonham Carter, who's Helena's cousin,
Yeah.
who's a great guy, and he was her son in it. And it was sort of pseudo sort of 30s. And Ian McDiarmid, who's a great actor, who's in Star Wars.
Wow.
And run the Almeida Theatre in Islington for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good fun. Yeah.
How long ago was that?
25 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah.
So I worked with Joan.
She worked in between. I know this about Joan. She plays very good Scrabble.
Right.
She knows some very long naughty words on the Scrabble board.
I know she was good at backgammon.
Oh no, she's good at backgammon. Yeah.
Very good at
I used to
backgammon.
play that. We used to play on our phones with a boy that played my son in Benidorm when we was on the sunbeds in between. Yeah. We played that, and with Kenny Ireland, who died, who played one of the swingers in it.
Right.
He sort of like got us. I mean, I vaguely knew how to play backgammon, but he got us into it. Another one, Ken. Hello, mate. We're all in the queue.
But hopefully we're not at the front. We're sort of
that. Well, Well, I'm 63 soon, so I'm not right at the back.
Yeah, you're in the middle. You're in the middle.
Yeah.
But Joan Collins, I did a movie with her called Saving Santa, which was like a kids animation, and she was playing opposite Tim Curry.
Brilliant.
And I met her at a friend's house in south of France. And I'd never met her before.
Oh, she's got a house there.
Yeah, she's down there. Yeah,
in Nice, I think. Yeah.
I think she spends all summer.
Yeah,
in Saint-Tropez and Club Saint Constant.
I was there this summer.
Yeah, I've not been there for a few years, but when I was there, my friend said, "This is Joan," and I said, and I don't know if she was a dame then. I don't think she was. And I went, "Hi, Joan, how are you?" And she went, "Darling, I'm not kissing anyone hello that I don't know." And I went, "Well, it's nice to meet you anyway." And I walked off. And later on, my mates obviously said to her, because they're pals, "Oh, Terry makes movies." So then she came up to me, she goes, darling. She said, "What movies are you working on?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing this kids movie, funny enough, and I'm actually looking for a Cruella de Vil character." And she goes, "I can do it standing on my head, darling." So I said, "All right, sweet. I'll send you the script," right? So I got back home, sent her the script. Percy come back, a fella.
Yeah, Percy's great.
And he went, she'd love to do it. I'm going to get her agent to ring. So we wrapped her up, and we're now working on this movie together. And the funny thing about the movie was, at the time, she was in California when we was doing the voice recordings. And Tim Curry and her were in the studio, and we did a satellite link up with London. So I'm in Lip Sync, I think it was, or it might have been Molyneux. It's one of the big post-production houses. And we're in this studio, and there's all these people sitting in this thing. And it comes on the room, and it goes, can you hear us? Yeah. And then the picture comes up, and then they go, we've got Joan and we've got Tim here. And then you hear, Terry, darling, you there? And everyone's going, you fucking know Joan, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, go way back. Right? So we did the thing, and it took 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because Joan kept saying, Tim, why don't you go first? And he's going, no, Joan, you go first. I insist. No, Tim, I insist. And this went on for like 10 minutes, and we're like all laughing. But the upshot of it, they were brilliant together.
Yeah.
But the downer with that film is, and I don't know if you know this, but Tim Curry actually had a stroke.
Yeah, I know that he did. Yeah,
and he did that. So we recorded all his dialogue. We now need to finish the film for Christmas, and I'm ringing the agents, and I need to get Tim back to do some voiceover.
Yeah.
And they went, well, he's not available. And I said, well, I've got to get the film out for Christmas. I sort of need him to be back.
Yeah.
And they were like, he's not available. All right. So
Yeah.
I said, well, when's he going to be available? And I started getting annoyed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they went, look, just call back in a couple of weeks. So I've waited a couple of weeks, run back. And then I started shouting them down the phone saying, listen, I've got to finish this film. This ain't a joke now. I need to get him back in the... And they went, well, he can't speak. And I said, what do you mean he can't speak?
Yeah.
He's had a stroke, but nobody knows. Please keep it quiet.
Okay.
So I was like, how the fuck are we going to finish the film? But you won't believe this, but there is a Tim Curry sound
alike. There always is. I mean, like I do voiceovers and stuff, and I remember sitting in a pub in Soho, and there was a guy years ago called Bill Mitchell that used to do Carlsberg. I can't do it.
Yeah, probably the best lager in the world.
And there was 3 other actors that used to do Bill Mitchell, and he based his voice on Orson Welles originally.
How fun is that?
And Michael Elphick used to do him.
Wow.
And that there was, if it weren't him, it was someone else, and they'd just go and stay in the pub and get these voiceovers all day. That's how prolific they were. Wow. You know.
But that I mean, I don't think Carlsberg Lager even exists now, but back in the day, it was a big thing. And that advert was probably the advert, wasn't it? It was like, it come on the telly straight away. It was like, Carlsberg, probably the best lager.
There's certain voices, like my mate's dad, my mate Robin Hayter. Yeah. His dad was James Hayter that used to do, Mr. Kipling bakes exceedingly good cakes. And he was like the original Friar Tuck in the Robin Hood series that we used to see when we were kids on the telly. Which you know, is brilliant. Coming back to Tim Curry, my connection there is that I'd done the Rocky Horror Show.
Wow.
In New Zealand. After I'd been working in Los Angeles, I went out to Australia and bumped into these guys, and they wanted me to work with them.
Yeah.
I didn't have an Australian equity card, so they said, look, we're doing it in New Zealand. We think we can get you in there because like you'd be the only English person in the cast. So it's all right, well, I'll maybe come back and do that. And anyway, about 18 months later, it was happening. Yeah. Get out there. My mate, Daniel Aberneri, he's called. He lives in London now, who I met originally in Sydney. And his dad was an actor and his brother and stuff. And his dad done the Ferrero Rocher ad. You know, he was the one with the tray. Oh, you spoiled me, ambassador. But he was really posh. It's really funny because and he earned a lot of money out of that. Yeah. Anyway, I arrive in New Zealand. Daniel said to me, "Look, I'm auditioning people tomorrow." I said, 52-hour flight, Dan. You know.
Fuck, yeah.
Get there, auditioning. We audition and cast Russell Crowe.
Wow.
In it. Russell Crowe was a bingo caller in Auckland, and he had a band. He called himself Russ La Rock.
Wow.
Like Vive La Rock.
I mean, this is like proper trivia.
And anyway, you know, he's good. Had a good voice and that, you know. He looked a bit like, you know, like young Elvis type thing. And Dan, the director, said to me, "Look, Russell's mum's invited me round to dinner tonight." I said, "All right, well, you know, have a nice dinner." She said, "No, I want you to come with me." I said, "I don't know where I can. You know." Anyway, I'm falling asleep because I got jet lag and stuff. Get round to Russell's house, and anyway, we had a bit there. I could hardly eat anything. I was drinking loads of their wine, though, and their
Did he keep saying
Stein
legs 11?
lagers.
Two fat ladies, clickety click. He wasn't doing that.
There was loads of piles of photos of him all through the house, so I knew he was serious.
Yeah.
And anyway, the next day I woke up, I phoned up and I said, "Did that happen?" To the director. He said, "Oh, yeah." At the end of the night, the entertainment was Russell Crowe and his mum had a wrestling match in front of us. Like serious, like with the dad sitting in the corner, like looking a bit scared, and his brother.
Wow.
And he tapped out. His mum done him with a full Nelson.
And that's a true story.
That's a God's honest true
I mean,
story.
that is fucking insane. That is insane.
And
so there's some advice here. Do not fuck about with Russell Crowe's mum.
No.
She will do you.
She'll do you. Like, she's lovely. And I sent her a bunch of flowers saying thanks for making us welcome. And he said to me, "Look, Mum and Dad really like you." I said, "Oh, well, I like them. They're nice people."
Yeah.
So you can come and live with us while you're in Auckland. I said, the house looked a bit crowded to me, to tell you the truth. And I said, "Well, that's really kind, but I live with my mum and dad when I'm in London, and I've got a suite in this hotel, and, you know, I can do what I want there." So thank you.
I reckon they wanted to get you in that ring, mate. They'd have started roughing you up.
Give me a full
Was it the family interesting? Were they? I mean, when you said that arrested,
no, he was into martial arts and all that. He'd do one finger press ups and that.
But
mind you, when we had a row, he ran away.
But I reckon he still loved on the bay, and when you start going, whoa.
No, it was well before then.
Yeah,
I've been about for too long, really. Haven't I
think it's great though, Perry. You got these stories. You know what I mean? To Russell Crowe and his mum wrestling.
Oliver Reed, I worked with.
Wow.
When I was a kid, I'd done a film with him and Glenda Jackson.
What was he like? I bet he was funny, wasn't he?
He was scared of us. The first week, we filmed in this kind of derelict school in East London. Phil Daniels was in that, and a few others. I played this kleptomaniac in it called Timmy. I kept on nicking like motorbikes and stuff and bringing them round Glenda Jackson's house. It's like, but he kept taking us to the pub, Oliver. Right?
He loved it, didn't he? He loved having a booze.
At lunchtime, he'd take us to the pub, and I remember going into his dressing room in the morning, and he had big like crates of beer in there, and said, "Do you want a beer?" I said, No, not before we start work and that, and he took us to the pub, and my mate Tony London, another one that's gone, he said, "What do you want to drink, Tony?" He said, I'll have a vodka and lime. So, "Okay, we'll have 27 vodka and lime." I said, "I don't drink vodka and lime." He said, "You're having vodka and lime." I said, "All right, Ollie, all right." And anyway, we drinking all this vodka and lime in there for about 3 hours. Well, it's supposed to be like an hour-long lunch break. Second assistants come in a couple of times, said, "Please, Oliver, come back to work." I said, "F*** off. We're having a drink." Anyway.
Was he violent as well? Because someone said he used to like fight people.
No, well, no. Well, I suppose he would have done, but no, it was all puff and blow, really, you know. And we got back, and of course, Glenda, who'd been waiting, was furious with him, you know. But, you know.
Did she put him in a full Nelson or not?
No. She was lovely. Yeah. I liked her, you know. And, yeah, that was an interesting film about an educationally subnormal school in East London, and she was the teacher and he was the headmaster, you see. It's out there.
And obviously you mentioned Kate Moss liked your song.
She was really good mates with my cousin, so I used to occasionally socialise with them. I DJ'd at one of her birthday parties.
Do you know what I'm surprised at with her? I'm surprised she hasn't actually popped up in a movie. Well,
I think she did. She was in the Ab Fab movie, but it's not really a forte. You
No,
know?
but what I mean is, like, she cracked it as a supermodel, and you sort of think she had the world at her feet.
Yeah.
And you wonder why she never sort of had a go. Do you know what I mean? Because if she'd have said, I wanted to do it.
Because she was getting more money doing other things, Terry,
Right.
you know, and she doesn't have to.
Got it.
She don't have to go and, you know, sell her wares like I do.
You're such a whore, Perry.
Minimum equity, as long as there's a practical sandwich in Act 2, you know.
You're in.
Yeah, where are the sandwiches, Tal?
We haven't got any today, but
All
we're on a budget, mate. You know, it's a short film. What's the biggest film you've worked on?
I don't know. I haven't really done. I've done.
I didn't know if you've
sort of
done
like
any
medium
bigs.
budget
Yeah.
films. I suppose. I mean, that one that I've done with Scott Adkins was quite a big budget film. You know, it earned quite a lot of money at the box office in America and stuff. And Sony wanted to do another one, but this strikers interfered with it. You know.
Is that what you're doing now?
They're
Oh, The Strike.
the strike.
Sorry, I thought you said The Striker. I thought that was a new movie you were doing.
No, that AI thing, you know,
Yeah.
which has interfered. Because they want to, basically, you go and do a day's work and then be able to use your image or body movements in perpetuity, so they could make a series from you doing one day's work.
Oh, it's pretty good, isn't it?
And
for them?
only,
Shit for
yeah,
you. But
yeah, well, exactly. There's no point, is there? You know,
I mean, what do you think of? I mean,
might as well just do it for my mates in the pub.
you've been in this business now for 4 decades plus, and obviously you've seen it change. And what's your views on it right now? I mean, do you think it's going in a good direction, or do you think?
Well, you know, I believe that you've got to embrace change like this. For instance, this artificial intelligence thing it's a good thing in many ways. You know, you can fill in all the backgrounds and that, just not me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get filled in.
Yeah, they'll find you.
No, and there's got to be ways of using it that are beneficial, but not just to exploit everyone.
I mean but the thing is, do you not think when you look at music artists, you look at independent filmmakers, they kind of do get exploited? Because obviously when you look at the studios, you look at the streaming platforms, and not just for film but for music, obviously, you know, they're I think Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg come out the other day, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
And he was like, how the can I have 1 billion streams of my song and only get $50,000? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, well,
it seems to be, it feels like there's a little bit of a backlash at the moment with people that are creating content or people that are performing in content, whether they're actors, whether they're singers, whether they're musicians, that they're not getting their fair share.
at the moment, I think that is so, but there's got to be some sort of kickback in the end from it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, for instance, a lot of music acts now go on the road, because most of the money they get is from performing live, ticket sales and merch. And that's it, because, like, if you're relying just on the publishing, you know, certain songs, I suppose, you know, you're through the gate if you're Queen, or, you know.
Look at Taylor Swift as an example, yeah?
Yeah.
You know, that tour she's just done has grossed a ridiculous amount of money, sold out, and she went, let's record the tour and put it out on pay-per-view. And I think it was, you could watch it home for 20 quid over Christmas. And it was like #1. So that means hundreds of thousands of people were going 20 quid, because they couldn't go to the concert. So on paper, she's probably a billionairess now. But,
yeah, I'm sure.
Super smart, but obviously not every artist can do that. Do you know what I mean? So,
No. And it's just having the reach to do that in the first place, isn't it, really? And perpetuating it and doing it at the right time, you know. There's all of that to it. But, you know, I don't, you know, I can't really predict the future, Terry.
Haven't you got your crystal ball? I thought you was bringing it today.
My crystal, I've got...
Mystic Benson.
No, not crystal ball, crystal balls.
Oh, crystal balls.
Yeah.
So David
the
Beckham's...
cojones, crystal cojones.
So David Beckham is called Golden Balls, but a lot of people don't know that Perry Benson
Crystal
is called Crystal
cojones.
Balls. Crystal
Yes.
cojones.
Yeah.
And obviously we've worked on some fun movies together. We did Outside Bet.
And that was good fun, yeah.
And that was, you know, Bob Hoskins' last independent British film.
Bob Hoskins, about 3 weeks in, because like everyone else was quite cockney in it, so I'd done a slight twinge because I was playing a horse trainer.
Yeah, I
so I put a little bit of a funny accent on, and Bob said to me, like, we're all having lunch. I think you were there, and he said to me, Perry. I said, yeah. He said, what are you doing that fucking funny accent for? I said to him, well, it ain't half as funny as a fucking Cockney Joseph Stalin in The Enemy at the Gates, or you know, like Roger Rabbit, your American accent, is it, Bob? He went, no, all right. I said, well, people that live in fucking glass houses shouldn't throw stones, should they? he was my mate for years, Bob. I loved him.
Do you know what? One of the funny stories, and you'll remember this, when we were filming Outside Bet, there was Ginny Agata, Rita Tushingham, you, me,
Linda
Phil Daniels. There was like a room, and Adam Deacon. There must have been...
Phil Daniels weren't in it.
Phil Davis.
Sorry.
Yeah. I knew his name was Phil.
Dudley Sutton.
Dudley Sutton, God rest his soul. But there was about 25 or 30 of us in this room after we'd had lunch. We was all having a cup of tea and we was all having a laugh.
Yeah.
My mate come in and he went, Terry, he said, you're never ever going to get all these people in one room again. And then obviously we lost Dudley, we lost Bob. But what was funny was I always remember Bob sat there and he didn't really hold court, but he observed. And I remember one day when we were sat in that room, he was sat there and he was like looking around, and Adam Deacon was on his phone. And he looked at Adam and he went, what are you doing on your phone? Like he was telling him off. And Adam's going, oh, I'm just like updating my social media, Bob. And Bob goes, social media? He goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, I've got these people that follow me and I like post stuff saying like what I'm doing today, what I'm doing tomorrow. I'd send pictures and I sing songs and all that. And Bob looks at him and he goes, what a fucking sad world we live in. And Adam was like this. He went, okay, Bob. And he turned his phone off and put it away. But I
got this other story about that film as well. You had some investors come down one day, and one of them was Dennis Wise, the footballer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Anyway, because I lived sort of around the Angel, his dad, who's a complete tearaway, been barred from every pub around there. That's where Dennis gets it from. And but every time he comes back into the pub where I used to go, the old Red Lion, he'd slip in again, and he'd make a beeline straight for me, his dad, right? Because I always got on with him. I never, I never had a problem with him. But anyway, Dennis Wise sort of like come along the line on your film saying hello to someone, right? And like saying, how do you do, what you do? I said, hello, Dennis. I said, I know your dad. I see all the blood drain out of his face, and he go, oh, do you? Like that, walk away.
I think one of the funniest things on that film was there was a guy who's a partner in a big law firm, and he come on set, and he always tells people his story.
Yeah.
And he'd invested in the film, and he come up on the set, and he's watching it all, and he's going, oh, this is really cool. You got all these people, blah blah blah. And then this guy comes over, and he goes, I own the premises here. And I was like, oh, amazing, thanks for letting us film. And he goes, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I said, is this the only site? He goes, no, I've got all these sites, I've got all these things, I'm big in property. And I said, you must know one of my good mates. And I said the guy's name, and he turned around and went, oh, yeah, I know him really well. He said, if I'd have known that, he said, I'd have given you a big discount. I said, we haven't paid you yet. And this lawyer just started laughing.
Yeah, well,
and he goes, I fucking love this. Yeah. And we did actually end up having a deal with the guy.
Good.
But yes, I mean, there's so many great stories about that.
Well, some people just think that it's like an excuse to print money, and obviously there's only a finite amount of money you've got to make stuff.
Absolutely.
We know that. You've got to be realistic about it. And make back, and you don't always get that.
No. I mean, I think the problem with independent films, and this is, it doesn't matter what, you're relying on so many people. You're relying on sales companies. You're relying on distributors.
Yeah.
You're hoping that nobody goes out of business. You're hoping that when you release the film, people watch it.
You're hoping there's no white collar crime. You mean?
Exactly. but that's what happens. And I mean that Saving Santa movie, great example.
Yeah. I done one similar called Get Santa with Jim Broadbent.
Play Santa in it.
I don't know. I played this guy in prison with Santa that makes all the prison alcohol, and because I was taller than him, I had to have beef with Warwick Davis.
That was funny. He's great, Warwick. Isn't he?
He's
a
great.
good actor.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. And Jim Broadbent's brilliant.
He's amazing.
And Ralph Spall was in it.
Ralph's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good jolly time.
Who played
mostly up
Santa
in Leeds.
Who played Santa in that?
That was Jim Broadbent.
Wow.
He had like dreadlocks when he goes into like dreadlock beard and that. Stephen Graham's the barber in it.
Wow.
Stephen's
great. I mean, you worked with him in This England as well.
I have, yeah, and I did another thing that Ed Allen and Johnny Vaughan wrote called Top Buzzer, about two dope dealers, and I played this guy that used to go around and score dope off of them, and I was really, really boring in it.
Yeah.
I called Boring Dave. I was a motorcycle courier, and the only reason they put up with me is because I bought more dope than anyone else.
Right.
So yeah.
That
was for MTV. We done one series. Howard Marks was in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I noticed that Howard Marks pops up in lots of different movies. I did see him.
It was the first thing he done.
Yeah.
Howard, I liked him.
Because a mate of mine, who prolific rave promoter in his day, made a lot of money out of property when he came out of that. He actually funded the movie about Howard Marks,
Mr. Nice. Yeah, with Reese.
Yeah. And that didn't do any work, And on paper,
great film.
That book was like unbelievable, but the actual film didn't. It just didn't.
Well, that's it, and that you never know what it's going to do you?
I mean, I think the problem with independent films versus studio movies, when you do a studio movie, they're obviously 100 million, 200 million. You got Margot Robbie or Bradley Cooper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
and
you kind of know
the P&A behind it, which is the prints and advertising. Yeah. Like the budget for that can be as much as shooting the film.
Yeah, I mean they normally double it up.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
double it up. So you imagine,
they have to make all that back.
400 million. They got 200 on the film, 200 on the prints advertising.
Yeah,
I mean it's a lot of money to get back. And
it is.
Interesting enough, I don't know if
you have to have some crystal cojones for that.
You have to have crystal cojones. but someone said to me, and I don't know if this was because of the strikes or whether it's just because of the business, but I think Warner Brothers and I think Lionsgate, who are two big studios, both lost a lot of money. I know Disney have lost a lot of money on their streaming platform. So a lot of these studios that were obviously making, billions of pounds have sort of gone negative over the last year. And I don't know if that's because of the strikes or because of the business.
Yeah, they're tightening their belt, and they Netflix, all of them. Yeah. But they're always quite tight anyway, in that respect, apart from the big things. It's just that, like if you come in, I think, which a lot of them came in late to the game, you got some catching up to do. Like, I think even though you got the big name like Disney, Apple, all of them, Apple at least have got a cushion, haven't they?
Yeah, I think with Apple,
they make some great stuff.
Yeah, but the drawbacks with Apple versus like Netflix and Amazon is Apple, obviously their core businesses, obviously headphones, iPads, iPhones, computers. So they're a tech company that's in that space.
Yeah.
And I think that the stuff they make is great.
iTunes, like
but they're very selective on what they put their name on, because they have a view that if they do something that's offensive, you're not going to buy their iPad potentially.
No, it's high end stuff, which is good. I mean,
I think it sets them apart.
Watch Hulu as well. That's another one that's mostly American.
Yeah,
that thing that won one of the Emmys the other night, The Bear. That's great.
I've not watched that. I have to watch
really
that.
good. Yeah, about restaurant business.
But if you look at the platforms like Apple, because of the way they operate, because they're thinking about their consumers, their making stuff that's different to everyone else. But with Netflix, they can make whatever they want because the more controversial stuff is on there, like Jimmy Savile documentaries, El Chapo movies, the more people go,
Ricky Gervais's stuff,
Look at it, #1 over Christmas. But if you look at Ricky Gervais, that is what a comedian is. And lots of people get upset. Lots of people want to cancel comedians. Lots of people say...
But he's not... It's funny, he's edgy but not offensive.
But I think it's easy to be offended by what he says. But the thing is, he's not... he's doing it as a joke.
That's down to the individual. That's where people have got all that offence thing wrong, I think. I don't want to offend no one, but if someone says that I'm offended, it's quite easy to offend people these days. They can say that they're offended over anything. I'm sorry that they're offended, but I'm not sorry for sort of normally saying what I say.
But genuinely,
I'm fair and even-handed.
But genuinely, if you look at the world, right, 10 years ago, and you look at the world today, right, there's been a massive shift where, and I don't know whether it's the media, I don't know whether it's the woke brigade, I don't know who it is, but there's definitely been a push to say to everybody, you're allowed to be offended and
be kind to people. I agree with that.
But the thing is, I think they've encouraged people. So people that wouldn't normally be offended by something are now being offended. And the worst one is people being offended on behalf of other people.
Yeah, well, right? I think
and I don't
crazy,
get that. I don't get that. If someone says something to you, I wouldn't be going...
I think it was almost like, like the Emperor's New Clothes syndrome, I call it, where young people are offended about everything. If they're offended, it's almost like having a hobby, being offended.
But then what I don't like about this...
because that means that they've got control of what's going to happen, which they have to a certain degree in the future.
But the scary thing is, for me, is if you're a young person...
Yeah,
and you're offended about everything, and you're offended about on behalf of other people, right? You're spending your life worrying about shit that's not really important, and that's what I'm worried about, because there's more important things going in the world. It's like Sadiq Khan as an example, right?
Yeah,
Sadiq Khan said, "Oh, we're gonna roll out the ULEZ, right? Because we got to stop the pollution and we've got to save lives and it's killing people."
Yeah,
blah, blah,
but
blah.
he lied about a lot of things.
But if you pay £20,
you can pollute everything.
You can pollute whatever you want.
Yeah, I know. I don't agree with.
So to me,
with Sadiq, certain things that he says have been good, right? Yeah. And they're thinking he's thinking of lowering all the fares just before the next election, isn't he? And that's
and then put him up as soon as he gets back in.
Well. I think that we could do with a change as London Mayor. He's had his go.
For sure.
Now,
for sure. But the point I was making was, he obviously is focusing on that. And that to me is the wrong thing to be focusing on. He should be focusing on actually fixing the crime, fixing things. Because look, in life, right, if you were in government or you were in a business, right, there's issues that are at the top and there's issues at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you have to sort of prioritise things.
See, I don't pretend to be a politician at all, but with that guy, he's not even answerable to anyone. He doesn't answer questions. So that says to me he's hiding something.
Right.
Like a lot. And which is not a good thing, especially if you're and the London Mayor, I think, almost has too much power.
Well, I think when Boris Johnson was in as London Mayor,
yeah.
I know he'd done like mad things like parachuting in things, and a lot of people sort of thought he was like a
commission, the Garden Bridge and things like that. I quite like the Boris bikes, they've kept them.
But a lot of people thought he was like a novelty act. He was a comedian, but I think he actually did do a lot of good.
No, he's not. There's no flies on him, I tell you.
But that's what I mean. So I think. And then obviously he went on to then becoming the Prime Minister. So he obviously had the minerals. Now, lots of people don't like him. But, again, lots of people don't like Sadiq Khan. So, but like you said, I think it is good to have a change.
I think that they're all as bad as one another.
Right.
They all have their agenda, It's just what affects you individually the least, I think. or like in a bad way, or in a positive way, you know. And you have to look at it like when you're voting. I vote for an individual rather than a party or an ideology.
Right.
You know that politics. As long as everyone gets on and
But that's what I find this being offended thing. It's like so people don't get on. So you say something I don't like.
Well, it's a way of people not like changing their surroundings around them, and I think it's right to be mindful of other people around you and their feelings, but not so much so that it dictates everything that everyone does. You know, because people have to be exposed to things that they don't really like to know that they don't like them. Look, and if you make it illegal for anyone to do that, then how would they know? It'd be a very beige world, wouldn't it?
Well, I grew up in the 70s, you grew up in the 60s, but, I don't know what it was like at your school, but at my school, everybody had the piss taken out of them. Everybody...
Yeah.
I
was at school in the 70s, right. Like my secondary school, yeah. There was a lot of that.
But I don't think, I don't look
My
back...
teachers used to do that. The teachers used to kind of humiliate you to make you learn. That was their techniques, which I thought was a bad thing, really.
Yeah, I got told off a lot at school, but I didn't get humiliated by the teachers. But I did when I grew up. At the time, I thought everybody. And the thing is, if it was only me who was getting the piss taken out of, then I would have been offended, right? But when everybody's getting the piss taken out of, you think, it's not my go today.
Being in an English class, right? And there was this teacher who's called Mr. Ripamonti, and he's from Derby. He had a Derby accent, and he wanted us to sight read the Beaux Stratagem, which is restoration comedy. It's like really flowery, heavy language, much heavier than Shakespeare or anything. And because he knew I was an actor and he wanted, he was a frustrated actor himself, he got me up in front of these 30 boys that were already giving me stick because I was like on the telly and stuff. And I struggled with it. Anyway, he said, sit down, Benson, sit down. Actor? You'll never be an actor. You'll never, ever, ever be an actor. Think you're an actor? I said to him, well, sir, look, I've got to tell you, tonight I'm on BBC One at 9:30 in a play for Today, so put that in your pipe and smoke it. He went, get out of the out of the class. You know what I mean?
You should print off your CV.
I went back to one of those, like one of those reunion things, and I'd done quite a lot by then.
Yeah.
And
I hope you made a beeline for him.
No, I was talking to like the history teacher that I really liked, and Mr. Morley, and he ran over and said, do you remember me? Do you remember me? I taught you English. Mr. Ripamonti. I said, did you? No, I don't remember you. and just left it at that. So that was his answer. No, I don't remember that. What could he say?
Put his out, wasn't he?
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Have you got any jokes? You got a joke before you go?
How'd you sell a deaf man a chicken?
I don't know.
Want to buy a chicken?
You have done a lot of comedy over the years, Perry, and I think
I loved working with David Croft and Jimmy Perry. They were just fantastic. They taught me a lot.
What was that on? That was on.
I did I was in Heidi High first.
That was brilliant.
And then I did a few series of this thing called You Rang My Lord.
Yeah.
And then I'd done this other one that David Croft wrote with this other guy called Oh Dr. Beechin, which was, it was funny,
I tell you, one of the funniest films that we've worked together on was Anotherhood.
Anotherhood.
That was good fun. That was good fun.
I think it was really funny.
And do you know Linda? I see her. I was at this charity thing at Christmas.
Yeah.
And she was walking up the stairs, and I was behind her, and I went, Pauline, and she turned around and she went, my name's Linda. I said, I know, Linda. It's me, Terry. And she went, oh, hello. But she must get that a lot. People pulling her in the street.
I haven't seen the latest one that he's done. I'm dying to see it.
Some
Adams.
Some other yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not seen it either.
No.
Nice for him to have us back, wasn't it?
No, but it was completely different. It was like it was like that the actual scenario was like it was almost like a parallel universe apparently.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Adam's back making films. Power to your elbow, Adam.
Yeah, he's done well. I mean, it did well at the box office. I think it done. It was in the top 10, and I think it done just under 2.5 million. So it's
brilliant.
For British independent film, that's like stunning.
That's good. He come from a tough background. He went to Anna Schurz and and I think at one point in time was in care, and he's marched his way back. Yeah. Good on you, son.
So Perry, as we're going to wrap this up now, what you got lined up for the future, mate? What are you working on now?
Well, there's a couple of things, but I can't really talk about right now. One's a film and one's a series. Okay.
Well, I know you also directed a short. Is that going to be the next step for you? Do you think you're going to?
Not particularly. My forte is on the performance side, I think, Terry, and that's where I tend to stay. Yeah.
Perry, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning into the Criminal Connection podcast. Perry Benson, an icon of film, television and theatre. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you tell all your friends about the Criminal Connection podcast. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you comment. We'll see you next week. We've got another guest. We'll see you on the other side.